This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We are here today. In what neighborhood is this, Elaine?
This is Lincoln Park area.
Lincoln Park.
Second Ward.
Second Ward. Okay. We're here with Elaine Clemons, a community activist. She does spectacular work, which she'll describe to us. And we are also here with Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. First of all, Elaine, please describe some of your work, because you show me a lot of it. And then, but what is most important to you, and what do you do the most?
All right. This year, I founded EC Outreach for the Homeless because of the fact that I knew that they could vote. They did not need state ID. And when I talked to the people at the Board of Elections, they told me the same thing. I said, well, wow, it's a little late, but we got to get started. So that was my goal, and I reached out, and I did get help, thank goodness. And I did register some people to vote I had a table on Ashland and Milwaukee, and I did register people to vote. And it was a good feeling, and a lot were very excited. And I had to keep repeating to them, yes, you can vote.
So how did you find out the first time that the homeless could vote? Who told you, and how did you find out? Did you look for it? How did you happen upon this information?
Okay, during the primaries, what I saw was that the homeless needs a special type of ID. But when I talked to the people at the board of elections, they said no. And then, so this time, I said, I know they don't need a state ID to vote. Let's get it out there and let's have the homeless vote. They have the right.
Do you know who was putting out that information that the homeless need a state ID in order to vote?
Well, actually, they were groups for the homeless, yet they did not keep update to the fact that it was no longer that way. They don't need a special certificate to vote. So, and all this time, when I talk to some of the homeless, oh, I can't vote. Yes, you can, okay?
So I guess when people thought that they had to have that certificate, no homeless people were voting then.
Some were. The last, and in primaries, I did help someone to register to vote who was homeless. However, they were able to get a state ID. They had ID to get ID. So that's the whole problem with the homeless. If you get a state ID, you need ID to get ID, which most of the time they don't have.
And then what about if the homeless have an expired ID? Are they able to get a new ID with the expired ID, or do they still need all that secondary documentation?
Okay, if they have a state ID that is expired, yes, they can renew it. They don't have to do it all over again.
Oh, okay.
That's good.
What happened to you to make yourself dedicate to cause you to dedicate yourself to this work?
Okay, well, mostly all my life, I've been helping people one way or another. I myself was homeless. I was staying with my fiance. He died, and after that, I didn't want to renew my lease. Okay, so the other apartment I found couldn't get in for a month. So I went to a place, and they gave me tab of the house, and I stayed there for about 3 weeks. And before I left, they asked me if I would work there.
But what was doing there that caused them to gain such respect for you that they thought they needed you?
Right. I think it's because I was talking to people. Like if I heard somebody say, oh, this is my fifth shelter, or things of that nature, I tried to talk with them to boost their self-esteem. And basically saying to them, yes, you can, okay?
We'll get off the subject a little bit. What were their main concerns and problems when when you were talking with them?
Okay, either they were living with their boyfriend, the boyfriend were beating them up, and they finally tried to get away. But the ones that were going from shelter to shelter, they really, some of them really weren't looking for a job. They were expecting a man to take care of them, or wanted to be, whatever. And some thought they could not get a job because they lacked education.
They didn't have a resume, in other words.
Right, they didn't even have anything. Mm-hmm. So I explained to them this is what they needed. Mm-hmm. And also, of course, one of the problems were addiction. Mm-hmm. And that's never has a happy ending. Mm-hmm. Never. And it is a big problem in all communities, not just on the south side, north side, all communities.
Did you ever help anyone find a job?
Yes.
Good for
you. After I began working when I was at the shelter, when I began working, I saw this girl, she was going for a job interview, and she had these long dangling earrings, chewing gum. I said, oh my goodness, I asked the director, is it possible that I can give seminars, which I have done before? And so I gave a seminar on how to dress for success. We all heard that little title. And also groups on self-esteem, and also how to reach my goal before I think I'm ready. Mm-hmm. And people, it was not mandatory they come to these groups. There were very few, and I guess some talked to others, and then the groups build up.
That's how it goes with our job fairs that we host. We hosted the monthly job fairs before the COVID.
Oh, okay.
And it started out small with just a few employers and just a few job seekers, but eventually it grew into this huge thing, and we did it twice a month even. Just before the COVID, and it was very successful. And we brought in all kinds of people for expungement sessions and for gang database search and all kinds of networking events. And that's how it goes. You do a good thing, and there's some success stories, and eventually the word gets out, the word of mouth gets out, and then you're able to help more people.
I see, that's fantastic. And when I was doing this, I did what I was doing, I got a list of subsidized housing, and I got it from, let's see, what was that? Some organization. And I gave them out to people, and then one girl who I know, she had children, she had 2 children, she definitely wanted a job, and she did get an apartment. A lot of people at Tabitha House got apartments, not just because of me, because Tabitha House, you did not have to wake up and walk the street the next, that morning. Mm-hmm. You stay there. Of course, you were expected to look for a job or whatever, but they had people who believed in them.
So there are 2 kinds of shelters. There's the one where you have to leave during the day, and you're only there to sleep at night. You have a curfew of sorts. And then there's one where you get to just stay there, and they expect you to look for a job.
Right, precisely. And Tabitha was one of those shelters where you didn't have to walk the street. I mean, how horrible! It's just for the shelters just to be a place to sleep. Because when you wake up and you go out and you're just walking around, that's horrible, okay?
You can't get your life together.
You can't get your life together. Plus, where they leave in the morning, they're not really able to look for a job. They don't really have any clothes. Whereas Tabitha, we had a boutique for clothes to wear a job. Mm-hmm. So, and I would like to see more shelters geared that way.
Whom did you help appreciates you the most, and why?
Who appreciates me the most?
Yes, who did you help?
Okay, it's sort of a sad story. This one person, this was not at Tabitha House. This one person I used to be a psychosocial worker, and this lady kept coming back because her boyfriend was beating her. And I would take part of my lunch hour, whatever, to talk to her. And she finally did leave him, but I had everything set up where she could go. So I reached out a hand to her, whereas other people where I worked, they were just doing their job. I took my time and helped her. And to this day, and I have the letter upstairs in writing, and every time I see it, it just breaks my heart. And it makes me want to move on. Because, you can't help a person. Don't say because this person's down, oh, they'll never do anything. Yes, they can.
Well, what other organizations do you work? And tell us a little bit about your namesake organization.
My main one?
Yes, remember you said EC Outreach, and I asked you, what does EC stand for? And you can tell our listeners, what does EC stand for?
Okay, EC stands for Elaine Clemons, which is my name. And EC Outreach for the homeless to vote, it will not stop here. Nah. After the election, it will be EC Outreach. And we will be continuing to help the homeless in many ways. And when we are able to, we will be all set up for the 2022 election. And I'm looking forward to that because we're going to have a lot of people who know how to vote.
What other organizations do you work?
MTO, Metropolitan Tenants Organization, which I went there and, because of the pandemic, no meetings, but we do have some online. And it's all about tenants' rights. So I went there, and now I'm the chairperson for tenants' rights in this building. And CPAC, and also Black Lives Matters.
I'll tell the listeners what CPAC means. Mostly everybody knows, but there might be some listener that doesn't.
Okay. I wish I brought my papers back, but I'll tell you short and sweet. CPAC is to hold police accountable for their crimes. And as we said, there's so much to it. I would love to do a whole thing about it. Okay? But we also, first of all, we have cards to sign that goes to the alderman, vote for CPAC. We want CPAC. For 4 years, I was doing it by myself. They were doing it in other areas, South Side, whatever, but no one here. So I would walk around, stand on bus stops, and got a lot of signatures. Now I have Second Ward neighbors for CPAC, which, they're helping.
When did that start? After the riots or even before that?
No, that started this year. And so
now you have a team.
Hey, yeah. Ooh. And so we have a table now, which I didn't have a table before. And it's not just here on Ashland. We go to downtown area, and but we stay in the Second Ward. But like the 32nd Ward or whatever, we help them also. But Second Ward for CPAC is for the Second Ward.
And who's your alderman in the Second Ward?
Our alderman is Brian Hopkins. And Brian Hopkins is the one, and his associate who wanted me to be deputy registrar because I was getting so many people to register. However, Brian Hopkins says no to CPAC. So we did rally in front of his house very peacefully, okay? And so usually when I register people to vote, I get a stipend. I get a stipend for this, a stipend for that. I'm not getting a penny for all the people I registered. That's okay. I will not leave CPAC and what I believe in order to get, the
You
stipend.
mean because you're with CPAC, you don't have the stipend anymore?
No, before I got
And the alderman
paid.
was providing the stipend before?
Yes.
And so this is a tax on you.
Oh, yeah. So I'm doing this for nothing, not even a penny.
But now you have more help. Before, when you had the stipend, you were doing it more or less on your own.
Yeah.
Now you have a team.
Yes, now I have a team. However, it's still a lot of work because I have election walk sheet that they gave me. So whether they pay me or not, I have been calling people in regard to voting.
Getting out the vote.
Right. And so I did call Linda at Brian Hopkins' office. We want to meet with him. I do not think he would change his mind. I hope so, but he has to answer to someone else.
Will he meet with you?
Linda said yes. Of course, we have to do an email.
And how long have you been trying to meet with him?
Oh, well, we just started this. Okay. However, I have met with Brian Hopkins many times. I have asked John, the associate, when I first asked him years ago, I said, "You've been getting the cards to CPAC?" He said, "Oh, yeah. Elaine, make sure they write their address, their email address clearer. That's so they can send them the newsletter." Then I had to get to the nitty gritty. I said, "Is Brian Hopkins for CPAC?" He says, "Well, we're not for it and we're not against it. We just don't understand it." I said, "Well, we'll have a meeting, blah, 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 and I'll explain it to you." And I did. And he says, no. I says, "Why?" "Because it seems like CPAC is taking over the police department." I said, "No." And I also had another member talk with him and still no. And
Since Brian Hopkins won't work with you, do you have any other public officials that are willing to work with you?
Not at this time. And we do have, all we need now to have it passed is 7 more aldermen to say yes.
Okay.
So we're going to get there.
Getting back to the homeless, how knowledgeable are the homeless and the candidates?
Not very knowledgeable. And not just the homeless, people, period. Okay, they do not do their research. And especially the judges, they'll just they'll check one, just be checking, or they won't do it at all, which it could be very harmful. We want to keep the good judges in. And we certainly don't want to check the bad ones who are racist, whatever. I know a lot of them, okay? But so it's the homeless, that's part of the plan also, to educate the homeless before the election and actually educate them about who's the mayor, okay? One person, I was talking to a homeless, he did not know who the mayor was, sincerely. But we have to let them know because they're not aware.
And all the other officers too, like who is the
Oh,
governor,
yeah.
who are
Right.
who the representatives are,
Right.
etc.
Right.
But do
Okay.
they know? Do they understand what those officers represent? If not the person, they
No.
yes.
And like I said, not just the homeless, other people don't either. And so I would like the homeless to know. And just like I was talking to the guy inside, I said, when you get your ballot, I'll go over it with you, because he's not aware either.
So when you reach out to the homeless, what percentage of those homeless would you say end up voting, following through?
Okay, let me think. One person, I did go with them, because they already had everything intact. But the people I asked, I would say if I asked 15 people, perhaps 9.
That's good.
That's good, actually good. I was lucky. That's good. And then it's always the follow up. Okay, you can register, but I want you to get there, okay? Make sure you get there. So EC Outreach, all of us working together, it's going to be it's going to work out. And as I stated before, this has never been done in Chicago. In other states, yes, they have had something like this, but I am the founder. Yay! Okay, first one, EC Outreach.
So there is a blueprint, but you're the one. You're the maverick to come in and the trailblazer to make it happen in Chicago.
Oh, it's got yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
When you started, were you able to persuade as many homeless, or are you better at it now? And then you are able to persuade more of the homeless people to vote.
Well, when the next election comes, and even before, I'll be able to reach out to more people. And with the help of the volunteers, which I really appreciate, we can do a lot. And also, I had to not do as much because I had problems with my leg, okay? And so I couldn't get around. But, I'm very happy about this. I'm very happy because it's gonna work. It's gonna work.
Did your work with resident rights derive from your work with the homeless, or the other way around?
Neither way, really. It helped me in regard to when people talked to us and said they were illegally evicted, okay, and they were homeless. And then we were able to help them. I didn't go take them to court, but Tom Willis, who's a director, he and other people would take them to court, and they would usually win. But really, when I found out that the homeless could vote, it was like a flashback when I was homeless. Also, when I worked at the same shelter, okay, which, as I said, was fantastic shelter.
Have you been voting all your life before you became homeless?
I was only homeless for 3 weeks.
I know.
Okay, and I voted since I was 18.
So you understood it.
Yeah, I started campaigning before I could vote.
Really?
Yes, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York.
Okay.
So around the corner was a election site or whatever, and they asked me, do I want to help call people and pass out flyers? I said, yeah. At that time, Kennedy was running. Telling my age now. But anyway, Kennedy was running, and I actually met him at the University of Buffalo. Shook his hand. Wow. But, and then I slacked off for a while. Then the guy I was dating, he was really into politics. But no, I voted all my life.
When you, in your work with the Metropolitan Tenants Organization, is the main focus on evictions? What is the main problem of for residents?
Okay, well, for example, they don't know their rights. They're afraid to speak out because they think, oh wow, if I say something, they get mad at me, they'll put me out. They cannot put you out, okay? Not legally. For example, one of the rules is that management cannot enter your apartment unless they give you a 24-hour notice. This was not being done here and other places. So what I did is I wrote out a paper. We request that you give us 24-hour notice. It's in such and such, and I had the people sign. The people here are very good as far as signing, because I do explain to them, you're signing this, but the people in the office would never see your name. Why should they? I would either give it to, at that time it was, we had a different alderman, Waggersback, and, or the person that used to come to our meeting from HUD, okay? So now they definitely, unless it's emergency, they don't enter our apartment.
Again, this is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we are with Elaine Clemons and Bill Morton. Elaine, you seems as if you have a lot of progress with your work in getting the homeless to vote. what do you see as your progress with your work with the MTO?
My progress with MTO.
Mhm.
Okay. When when I first invited MTO after I had did the training there, I invited them because we would have meetings here. When I invited them, first of all, it was standing room only because people were so, fed up with being treated not well. Okay, so what has happened since then? People are not as afraid to speak out. Uh, I have taught them exactly what to do. For example, one person, he wasn't working for 3 months. They were afraid. And so in the meeting, we explained to them what to do. Because my heating wasn't working for a week. And I called downtown, okay? I don't play that, okay? But anyway, you have that right. And when you hold something in, you don't feel good about yourself. Just because you live in a subsidized building, that doesn't mean that you don't have the rights as other tenants do.
Right, that doesn't make you a second-class
Right,
human being.
not at all. When I first moved in here, the windows didn't open. I asked people, why didn't you tell manager? Because we're afraid they'll put us out. I went straight to the office, and they didn't know it wasn't working. Somebody told them. So they did finally fix the windows, and it took a while because it's a lot of money. But anyway, it was done. And I'm sorry, if I see anything wrong, one manager we had was parking in the disability parking space. And I went to the office, I said, she's parked in the disability parking space. She didn't move. Now, I feel that people fought too hard for that right. She is not special. So I called the police. But anyway, and they came and gave her a ticket. If we were parked there, they would certainly
give that to you.
Yeah. So, okay. So,
Well, let's do a WZRD community assessment with you.
okay.
WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community we serve. So WZRD's mandate, we are mandated to submit quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment programming that is focused on the community. We like to assess the community for these quarterly issue topics. So the first question would be, what is most important to you, Elaine?
Okay. Now, when you say what is most important, are you meaning just this area or?
Just to your heart and to your soul.
Oh, okay. What is most important to me is to attain my goal. I do have goals I have achieved, and I want to go further because I think that we all need to reach out a hand to help each other. That is what we really haven't been doing, but we have to start. And not only will it help that individual, it will help the community.
Helping one is the start of helping all.
Right, precisely.
What is the long-term problem that you feel is most important to resolve?
Okay, the long-term problem. There is many for sure. But I would say the long-term problem to resolve, there's no way that people should go hungry. It is not necessary. So what's wrong with this system? We need to have people be able to eat and healthy. And there's no reason why it cannot be done. So that should definitely be addressed. Okay? Yeah, without a doubt.
then that is a long-term problem because we see it all the time. But
Yeah.
then what is the problem that needs to be resolved now?
Okay, this would have to this would have to go back to CPAC. We have to stop police brutality. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of seeing police murder blacks with a smile and walk away with no tie. That's got to happen now.
Well, thank you so much, Elaine Clemons and Bill Morton.
Thank you, thank you,
you.
Elaine
thank you.
Clemons of EC Outreach, Bill Morton of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce for interviewing with WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM.
Thank you.
So I have here the General Election Handbook for Election Judge and Election Coordinator, Chicago Elections, for November 3rd, 2020. And so in here, under Chapter 6, we have voters who are experiencing homelessness. Are you checking in a voter who may be experiencing homelessness? Under Illinois law, individuals who are homeless may vote. A voter who is experiencing homelessness may have a non-traditional residence. What is a non-traditional residence? This could be a day shelter, park bench, private residence, shelter, space under a bridge, street corner, or tent. A person who is homeless uses their mailing address to vote. This mailing address is recognized as the residence for voting purposes. This residence could include a shelter or private residence. For example, the mailing address must match the address of the voter registration. Do you or another judge know that a building like a shelter or church is not usually used as a residence? The building may still be used as a residence for voting purposes.
Okay, that's good. However, and I know this to be a fact, it didn't mention when they register, they don't have to have a address. Okay, when they register, okay, for the identification anyway, for the identification for register, all they have to have is the last 4 digits of their social security. And I know this is a fact because okay, and the lady at the board of election, and I looked it up. Now, when you go to vote, when they go to vote, they have to use a special form. And on that form, okay, they can describe if they sleep in the street, what street, is that mentioned in that book? No?
No, it doesn't.
See? Okay, I'll go back to the board of election, I'm gonna tell them. But anyway, if they sleep on the street, say if they slept on Ashland, they would simply say Ashland and the cross street, and if they want to say right across from Wendy's. Okay, and if for a mailing address, if they get their mail from a friend at a friend's house or whatever, they can use that. Okay, of course, if they live in a shelter, they can use that. Now, I want everybody to know that that is a fact, that they can use their last 4 digits of their social security. If they sleep on the street, I have already had people vote to sleep on the street. They use a special form. Can't think of the name of it. But anyway, and yes, they can.
Are they able to vote a straight ballot or vote a ballot instead of a provisional ballot?
No, most of the time, if they're sleeping on the street, they would have to do a provisional ballot. If they have registered before, they probably would not. But provisional ballot is used not just for that, for many different things.
Right.
And this goes into provisional ballot, and that's probably where this comes
Oh,
in.
okay, okay, right.
I referenced the wrong term. A regular ballot versus a provisional ballot, so they won't be able to vote a regular ballot. However, I did learn that provisional ballots, they take a little longer to get into
Yeah, I
the
was gonna
system,
say that,
but they
yeah.
are still investigated, and then
Yes.
once that they are vetted out, they are put into
Right.
as a vote.
Right. They do take a little longer, but they are counted. And the provisional ballots are not just used for that. Say, for example, if it shows up on the machine, you voted by mail, and a person says, "No, I didn't," then you have to use a provisional ballot, and they decide, after that. But it's very important. And if anybody has any questions, you can go online and it has all the information that I'm telling you about the social security numbers, okay? And also that a person living on the street has the right to vote.
Or online. Do you have
You can just go, like what I do is, I love doing this. You just ask the question, can a person on the street, vote? And then it tells me everything.
okay.
And this on here says chicagoelections.gov
Okay.
on this book.
All right.
Right.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
again,
Thank you so
Elaine
much.
and Bill.
Yay!
This has been WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM.
Right. Thank you so much.